Hey everybody, this is the Longhorn Confidential for September 12th, 2023. First off, before we get started, happy birthday to my wonderful little sister Alyssa, who absolutely is not watching this because she married into a family of Sooners, so I don't think she cares too much about the Longhorns, but I won't hold that against her. She's a great person, but happy Tuesday to everybody else. I'm Danny Davis, the Austin American-Statesman, as always, joined by Cedric Golden, Kirk Bowles, Thomas Jones. Thank you for listening to us wherever you get your podcast, watching us on YouTube, on the Statesman website. Let's get this started. Normally on these podcasts, we kind of like to look forward about what's next, but I don't think that's going to be the case today. We have a little bit to talk about from this past weekend. Texas 34, Alabama 24. Team Statesman, we rolled 6 deep into Tuscaloosa, and we were joined by about 100,000 of our closest friends at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Millions more watching on home, unless you had Spectrum, but that's all been sorted out. Got sorted out on Monday, so you'll be able to watch this weekend on Longhorn Network, the Wyoming game. But I'll let the historians like Kirk argue about whether this was the biggest Texas win in the last 10 years, 15 years, whatever. But we're going to start with this game. Thomas, we'll start with you. You have one game ball. Who are you giving it to?
I can't split it between Anthony Hill and Ethan Burke. I'll give it to Anthony Hill, the freshman linebacker slash edge slash do-it-all 5-star recruit. He had 2 sacks against Alabama, and really, I think that Texas pass rush has keyed everything in that defense. It's something they lacked last year. They're efficient, they're disruptive, they're chaotic, and they completely messed up Bama's offense throughout most of the game, especially in the fourth quarter. So I'm going with Anthony Hill.
Kirk, we'll go with you next.
Oh, Quinn all day long. I'm telling you, I don't know what he won, the Davy O'Brien Award. How many awards has he already won this week for that Alabama performance? And deserves every one of them. I just love his calm and his poise. And Steve told us on Monday that the only time he felt a little antsy, remember, I don't know what quarter that was, third quarter, maybe they're backed up their own end, and there were a couple of shaky passes that, could have been picked off, and that was a little bit scary. But the rest of the time, he just was in control, poised, hit a deep ball or two, which was kind of nice to see. So, yeah, I thought it was their, biggest non-conference win since beating Ohio State in 2005, and we know what happened that year. So Quinn Ewers deserves all the accolades. He had a special performance, and he's the main reason I think they got it done. Sid?
Going to be unconventional with this game ball. Steve Sarkisian gets my game ball because he believed that he could hit those deep balls on Alabama. He didn't give up on the deep ball. He put Milwee on the field so he can spend more time with his struggling young quarterback while Steve Sarkisian can get to the business of coaching the football team. He had a great defensive game plan that confused Milroe and added up to a couple of takeaways. So I think Steve Sarkisian had them calm and ready and confident in that game, in that house of horrors. He went in there. He was brash. He said 2 days before the game, we're going in throwing haymakers. We ain't going in throwing jabs. I love the aggressive mentality of Steve Sarkisian. He's got belief in that locker room. He's got the Texas Longhorns ranked number 4 in the country and looking up with Wyoming coming up. So Sark, it was his greatest coaching day of his career by far. He may have arrived. We'll see what happens the rest of the season. But Longhorn Nation is feeling really good about the man calling the shots on the sidelines now.
Danny, who you got?
I'm going to go with Adonai Mitchell. Obviously, 2 touchdown catches in that fourth quarter, 3 through 2 games here at Texas. He is as advertised. This was a talented transfer from Georgia who's won 2 national titles with the Bulldogs, has a touchdown in each of the last 4 playoff games that Georgia played with, and he has added just an incredible dimension to this passing game. I'm going to apologize for the lawn care that's going on right outside my window.
We can't hear the lawn guy. Keep going.
Because I definitely can. And you just kind of think of what this passing game is right now. I mean, we all knew what Xavier Worthy was. Jatavian Sanders is one of the, top 5 tight ends in the country, and he had a great game. If one of y'all picked AD, I was going to pick Jatavian as my number 2 for my second choice for game ball. And that trio has made Jordan Whittington the number 4 passing option on this passing attack. And when Jordan Whittington is your number 4 option, that is a really, really, really talented passing attack. And that's deep. We haven't even talked about Isaiah Nair this season, Casey Kane, who got a lot of run last year, Jonte Cook, who could be the next big thing for this team. So there's a lot of pieces, a lot of receivers who, just because of the way these top 4 guys are playing, just aren't seeing the field or getting that chance yet. And that just says a lot to how talented Adonai Mitchell is, Xavier Worthy, those guys, and just what the seasons that they're having. And 2 touchdown catches against that Alabama defense. Had a little fun with the crowd at the end. I think he is deserving of a game ball and all the hype he's received since he transferred in from Georgia. Now, we all know where Kirk Bowles stood before this game. He was the only one of us who picked Alabama, because that kind of followed his script for the season. He was picking 11-1 for the Longhorns, figured they'd beat Alabama. That wasn't the case for me, wasn't the case for you two. So I'm going to ask you this. Did the result of that Alabama game switch the way you feel about the season? Before the season, I had them going 10-2. I had them losing the Alabama game. So I guess I'm as much of a burnt orange homer as Kirk is right now. I'm kind of seeing 11-1, 12-0 as a possibility. The Big 12 hasn't really impressed me so far. I think Kansas State's going to be a really tough game coming into Austin. Maybe Oklahoma's a little bit on the rebound, although the SMU game didn't look spectacular from them. I don't believe in Tech at all now. So maybe 11-1 is definitely in the shots. And my 10-2, that was being disrespectful to the Longhorn team. So we'll skip Kirk since he's already talked all about this 11-1 Longhorns team. Said, what did you have them before the season, or are you thinking differently at this point?
Look at that smug look on Kirk Bowles' face. God, he's smug right now.
The glass half full.
Oh my God! Why don't you cross your arms like Run DMC? Good Lord. I ain't switching. I'm just gonna leave it alone, Daniel.
Whoa!
I'm just gonna leave that 9-3 where it is, and I hope.
What's it gonna take?
I'm wrong, but I don't. Kirk will tell you this from our podcast. I don't switch midstream. I leave it like it is, and because I almost switched last year, and then they go and lose to Texas Tech, and I hit it right on the money, 8-4. So, I think they're better than 9-3 right now, but I'm not going to switch my prediction. I'm just going to leave it what it is. A prediction, the first 3 letters of prediction is before, that means before. So it's not in the middle of the season or after 2-game prediction. It's a prediction. I'm leaving it at that. If they finish 10-2 or 11-1, I will not be surprised, but I'll keep my prediction where it is.
So Cedric is a man of honor. Well, I'm more than willing to jump off anything I said and hope that
everyone don't even give a score.
I hope that everyone remembers this podcast instead of what I said in the preseason. Thomas, you're up.
Well, I was 10-2 with you preseason. They're going to be favored in every other game they play this year. I mean, simple as that. They still have that Big 12 title game. You're going to have to beat a good team like Kansas State and an underrated team like Kansas, very dangerous Jayhawk team. I'm telling you, you're going to have to beat one of these teams twice because of that Big 12 title game. I think they could go undefeated in the regular season, but I think they could then fall in the Big 12 title game. I'll stay with 11-1 in the regular season. I'll say the Big 12 champions. And still, I think they have an inside track into the playoff. We'll see.
You're right.
11-1 in the Big 12 will get them in.
And they just got the tiebreaker. That win over Alabama on the road is going to probably trump what anybody else has. So I think
what if Bama's a 3 or 4 loss team in the SEC? Then this win doesn't mean quite so much. So a lot of moving pieces still.
Sure. And the other thing too, you mentioned, who are the teams that can beat them? Kansas State, you mentioned, Kansas. Yeah. Both of those are at home. And the other one's probably Oklahoma, which is neutral site. So it's lined up great for them. So
Bama ain't losing 4 in conference. I don't care who's quarterback.
They could lose 3.
3, but not 4.
That quarterback got some tighten stuff up.
I bet that quarterback it's Nick Saban. His quarterback's going to get better.
And Milroe's good. He's just inexperienced.
Yeah, they're going to clean some things up. It's a tough schedule. They don't play Georgia, do they?
No.
So,
And they play
Well,
they
who
play
else is
South
there?
Florida this week, and I think they're favored by 2 million, I think.
They're not
And I
playing
think
Georgia.
Alabama given the points.
Yeah, I think they do play Tennessee though, don't they? I don't.
LSU, a very good Ole Miss team.
I think they
Tennessee.
do play Tennessee. And they go to A&M, and then they have to play LSU. Ole Miss in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin is giving him some problems. So
It'll be
UT
interesting.
has to root for Bama now because they want
Right.
Bama to stay a top 10
Absolutely.
team.
Yes.
you're right.
Yes.
As much fun as that was, this is not the Crimson Tide Confidential, so we're going to keep it rolling.
I'm wearing my crimson today. Daniel.
Texas,
Don't
Texas
hate.
will be home this weekend.
Roll died.
No,
Can you mute him, Danny?
I'm doing my best. Texas will be home this weekend against Wyoming. That'll be 7 p.m. on Saturday. Obviously, Texas is rolling high, ranked 4th in the AP poll. Lots of excitement on campus. I'm sure that game will be sold out this weekend. If it hasn't been sold out already, I need to send that email when we get done with this podcast. But Wyoming's not a pushover team. This is a 2-0 team. They have had a decent start to their season, upset Tech in the season opener, beat Portland State by 14. And I'll make another shout out to my family. My brother played at Portland State back in the day. But, that Portland State win was a 14-point win over an FCS school. So maybe not as impressive, but they do have that Tech game on their resume. So that is something definitely to keep your eye on. We'll just go around the room. Is there any chance Texas stumbles? Is this a hangover game? Is this a trap game? Is there any chance Texas stumbles with the Cowboys coming to town? I will say no, but that's maybe just the Montana in me, and I just can't see Wyoming ever beating Texas. Sad, your thoughts?
No, I don't think so. Now that they're where they need to be, and that's in the conversation for top 5 teams in the country. They get to come home. Sure, they've read all week about how great they are now, and they've celebrated. And most of the questions in our presser on Monday were about Alabama and not about Wyoming. I don't know that I don't think the letdown factor is going to come into play. I think they're going to coach them hard this week. I asked Sark about that. I mean, you walk that fine line between how hard do you coach them? And he said, it took me 2.5 years to put the confidence in them. So you're not going to take it out of them. So I think they're going to come out like gangbusters. And I think they're going to lay the wood to Wyoming, and they're going to look great doing it. So, this is where they've been wanting to be for a long time. I don't think they're going to throw it away in one afternoon against the Wyoming Cowboys. I just don't see that.
Kirk, any chance that you've seen a lot of stuff on this beat since you've joined the Statesman? Is there any chance of an upset this weekend?
Yeah, there's always a chance, and as TJ said, they're going to be favored in every game. So we could look at it like every game's going to be a trap game from them from now on. Wyoming's never beaten Texas. I still remember a game up in Laramie where Justin Tucker ran the fake punt from his own 10-yard line and got chastised by one Mac Brown. I don't think he
didn't make it.
And I don't think he ever faked a punt again. But, Wyoming, like you said, Danny, is a decent to good team, much better at home up there in altitude. Andrew Peasley, a good quarterback. He ran for 68 yards last week. They've got a really good front seven. They're averaging 3.5 sacks a game, and they got a great kicker. I mean, John Hoyland has already kicked 2 56-yard field goals, and he's 6 of 7 in his career from beyond 50 yards. So it's not a bad team at all. But I gotta believe their heads are going to be on straight, and the crowd is going to be into it more than probably any other Texas-Wyoming game, because this Longhorn crowd is going to want to celebrate. So I would say there's little to no chance of an upset.
He's not going to ever pick one because he got to make that 11-1 stand up, Daniel. He ain't picking against Texas for the rest of the year.
We don't know that.
You still have to find that one. TJ, on a scale of 1 to 100, where do you feel the concern should be?
I'm going to give my Wyoming a 10% chance. I do think UT will pull away, but I think that first half will be a little concerning for a crowd that wants to coordinate the Longhorns. Look, Craig Bowl, the Wyoming coach, He's one of the better coaches in the nation that we haven't, that no one knows. He won 3 titles, FCS titles at North Dakota State. He's going to have his team prepared. And as Kirk mentioned, their front seven's really good. They stop the run, and UT will come into this game, I guarantee you, trying to establish that run. And I think they're going to be banging their head against the wall at least for 2 quarters. I think it's a single-digit score at halftime. Then I think UT pulls away.
10% chance. Okay. Well,
Pretty high.
we'll have to see about that. But yes, you know, Craig Bold, Chris Kleiman, they both very good coaches at North Dakota State who have done exceptional jobs at their next stop. So there's no overlooking those resumes.
And by the way, do we think Wyoming assistant Oscar Giles is going to have some motivation coming back to Austin? The former Texas standout star coach.
He was Isaiah Nayor in reverse, right?
Yeah.
Isaiah who?
Nice little connections there, but Texas has done pretty well with the defensive line coach that they hired to replace Oscar. Kirk kind of talked a little bit about it in his answer, but what is one thing about this Cowboys team that kind of sticks out to you, that kind of impresses you, aside from that 2-0 record? Thomas, we'll go right back to you.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that running game. Wyoming's given up less than 100 yards rushing a game. Longhorns are averaging about 3.5 yards a carry. Now, Sarkisian, you know, rightfully so, UT ran the ball late in the game against Bama, and Sark was very happy to see that. But the fact is, 3.5 yards a carry, not very good, and I think Wyoming's going to make things difficult.
Kirk?
Yeah, and the running game to me is kind of the one Achilles heel that Texas has shown so far. They ranked 90th, 90 in the country out of 133 teams. Passing, they ranked 13th. So, you know, are they going to be they're going to be probably a pass first team all year, but they can't just be a pass centric team, or they're going to have some problems, you know, down the road against the Kansas States and Oklahomas. So, you know, I guess CJ Baxter is going to play. Maybe you just going to sit him out and save him for the start of conference play against Baylor next week. So, you know, I think this offensive line is ready to make a statement. And as good as that front is for Wyoming, I bet that's the big point of emphasis is you know, running the ball to get that average per carry way up.
Said, what stands out to you about this Wyoming team?
I was looking at it. They have a couple of linebackers in Easton Gibbs and Shea Salinoa. They're not very big guys. They go about 230 apiece, but they're very active. They combined for about almost 200 tackles last year. They like to blitz. They're gonna test these interior linemen, because I read where they love to do the interior blitzes. And it's not something that Bama did a lot of. I thought Bama thought they could cover Texas on the outside, and Quinn made them pay. And Quinn did not get touched. And I know that Craig Bowl has watched this tape, and he's going to make those running backs pass protect, and he's going to make those interior linemen pass protect. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't blitz. I don't blitz 10 or 11 times this game, just to see how Quinn reacts to it. The Bama's biggest mistake was letting Quinn Ewers settle in, and he settled in, and he was comfortable. The key to any good defense, if you're pass rushing, is to speed up that little clock in the quarterback's head. Quinn Ewers was using a sundial. That dude was comfortable, and so they're going to try to make him uncomfortable. So look for those linebackers to blitz a lot in this game.
I think it showed after that Tech game, but I love their quarterback, Andrew Peasley. He was interviewed by, I think it was a CBS game after they knocked off Tech in overtime. This was the quote he gave them. At the end of this game, it was just take them to the deep end of the pool and they're going to fold. I'm sure if you're a Texas fan, you remember what Tech said about Texas last year. You love that quote. I love that quote just because of the swagger and confidence it shows. And as a confident young man, he's a graduate transfer from Utah State. This year so far, 5 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, averaging about 5 yards a carry, has played very well for this Wyoming team. So probably not the best talent-wise quarterback that Texas is going to see this season, but, you know, it's a veteran quarterback. might be even better than JT Daniels at Rice, and Texas overlooks him. He is definitely going to make them pay, and probably have a couple fun things to say afterwards to the cameras if Wyoming can somehow come in here and record this episode. Although it is a Longhorn Network game, so if Wyoming does somehow win, I doubt he'll be interviewed afterwards. They'll go back to a blackout if that's the case. But I want to talk about the running game, but I think we kind of touched on that. So I'm going to ask you, what do you think the crowd's going to be like on Saturday? This Texas team, CDC has done a pretty good job of kind of bringing excitement back to Texas home games, whether it's Bevo Boulevard, whether it's the Longhorn city limits. I'm not sure if they've announced who's playing on Saturday night. This team is now really good. It's the best, highest ranked team since the beginning of the 2010 season. So on field, off the field, there's going to be a pretty big buzz. But do you think it's going to be, probably not going to be Tuscaloosa last week because that was a pretty cool excitement, but what do you expect to see, Cedric, as far as just the vibe and the mood at DKR on Saturday?
I'm telling you guys, the people that didn't get to go to Tuscaloosa can't wait to get to DKR this week. And Thomas Jones had the word of the podcast, coronation. Their conquering heroes are coming back. And if you didn't get to jump in a fountain last week, then you're definitely going to be at DKR this week to watch them beat up on Wyoming and maybe, just maybe, move up another notch. If they win by 40, Bowles might put him in number one. His stuff is fluid. It's fluid. I like it, Doug. I'm not hating. I like it. I like that fluid AP poll that you put out. So I think it's going to be great. We know they're wine and cheese. We know they're a wine and cheese fan base, but this is as good as they've had it in a long time. And they got to enjoy and lap up every little morsel that they can get, because the whole world, I was at lunch and they had the TV on, and the college football shows on ESPN. They had Jalen Ford on live, and then they had another Texas segment, and then another. They're what everybody's talking about, Texas and Coach Prime. Those are the two biggest stories in college football. So I expect it to be packed. I expect them to be raucous, and I expect the Longhorns to deliver a blowout. So it's going to be even bigger this time next week. I think the Longhorns are gonna be received by a bloodthirsty, title-hungry, title-starved fan base that's looking for blood from here on out.
Thomas, what are you expecting on Saturday?
Hey, I like the word fluid said, because there's going to be a lot of fluids flowing Saturday. This is a night game, y'all. There's going to be hours of fluid flowing. There's going to be fluid flowing at the game. Then those orange lights that CDC's put in the stadium, they're going to be pumping. It's going to be a party, man. It's going to be a club. It's going to be wild. I think every now and then the students might actually look at the scoreboard, but it's going to be fun. And I think you two will ride that emotion for a while. And man, I can't wait to see a night game at DKR. It seems like it's been a while.
Kirk?
Gonna be a party. Gonna be a party. I agree with what you guys are saying. I'm looking for some unconventional light show. Who was it? Wasn't it X-Man that's saying he kind of dig the light show there at Brad Denny? So
who did?
Yeah,
cool. It was like
that was cool. It was cool. It really was. Maybe they'll bring the little field fountain, maybe a miniature version in the end zone over there by Bevo, and have some players. Maybe Del Conte will jump in or something like that. So yeah, let the show begin.
Yeah, it should be really fun. I will say, not to be too much of a downer, that if the fluids are flowing a little bit too much, I do hope that the Texas fans police their own people, because there was a pretty ugly incident in Alabama this past weekend, and that stuff has no place in any stands, and I don't think that's going to be a problem at DKR. But if it does, I hope people kind of take care of their own and make sure that stuff doesn't happen for those who are a little overserved. But I think for the most part, people are excited to see this team and are excited to celebrate the accomplishments of last week, and it should be pretty fun. Wyoming's a formidable foe, but I think all four of us expect a Texas win. So if they do get that win, and people have been able to party all day, I'm sure by the time everyone gets out of there, whatever it is, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night and the party keeps going. It's going to be a fun night on campus. But that's not the only event going on campus. It's the only event on Saturday, but throughout this next couple days, there are some other events worth taking note of. The volleyball team, which is ranked 6th nationally in the AVCA poll, they played on Monday, swept Rice. They are back at Gregory Gym on Thursday to face Ohio State. Washington State comes in on Friday night. Those are their last 2 non-conference matches as they tune up for conference play. So if you're a big Texas fan, you can get a lot of action in that kind of neck of campus, or you can head to Waco on Thursday evening to see the soccer team, which is ranked 17th in their poll, play Baylor in their conference opener. And this soccer team is doing some pretty good things too. Has some very talented players who are setting school records, so they're going to be a sight to see throughout the season. So just 2 other teams to keep keep track of as you're celebrating this football team. But we've teased the rest of the schedule. Let's tease the On Second Thought podcast. I'm sure guests are lining up to come talk to y'all now that Texas is back on top. Who's coming on this week, boys?
Are they lining up, Daniel? Are they lining up to see me in the Duck? Last time I said we were efforting a Longhorn legend and didn't get him, so I'm not saying anything. We are still trying to get we've got a couple of guests lined up, but they're not seasonal. They're not football guests, so we're going to hold off on them. But yeah. Hopefully we will have a guest, and if we don't, it's just going to be me and the big guy who celebrated a birthday as well this past week. Happy 27th, Duck. You don't look a day over 26.
That was fun. Good road trip besides Avis, right?
Before we go, though, Thomas, how was your first big road trip as a Texas beat writer?
I'm spoiled, man. Come on, we got to bring that energy every time, man.
You wait till we go to Ames. You ain't seen nothing.
There's no party like an Ames party. Ames party don't stop.
Got great brisket names, I hear.
Yeah.
Don't they, though? Don't they?
Yeah, Danny, how was your road trip? Did you have fun at the Avis counter?
I had a blast. I spent most of the time being angry at the world more than I usually am, but
that's saying something, Daniel. That's saying something.
Put that drama aside, and we eventually got our car. We eventually got some family business taken care of within our little family here, and it was a fun game to cover and a fun game to watch. So all in all, I can't complain. We all got home safely. We all had a lot of fun stuff to write about, and that's part of the business. And I think we are SEC ready. Although in 2024, the SEC road schedule isn't that crazy for Texas, because I don't think Nashville is going to be Tuscaloosa and College Station. That's just going down and back, even though I'm sure Kyle Field will not be the most welcoming place in the world. So, but I guess down the line, we kind of know what to expect. We've been to Alabama in the last couple of years. We've been to Fayetteville. I'm sure it's going to be fun when the Longhorns roll into town. But
hey, we got Ann Arbor next year.
Big house.
That's right.
There's some good trips if you're a Texas fan who likes to travel, and there were some spattering of burnt orange there. The Texas made sure that they were heard at that game among that 100,000 or so that was on the Alabama campus. But if you want to read any of our stuff from last weekend, it's all on statesman.com. If you want to read any of our stuff leading up to the Wyoming game, it's all on statesman.com. And if you want to read anything that we write out of the Wyoming game, statesman.com. But we appreciate you reading our stuff. We appreciate you listening to our podcast or watching us on YouTube, on statesman.com, and just kind of sticking with us throughout the season. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to cover this team this season. So we hope you enjoy this ride with us. But for Danny Davis, Thomas Jones, Kirk Bowl, Cedric Golden, that's it. We'll see you next week. Deuces.